comes, which then affords them a very positive neighborhood context like you just talked about. Little security cars driving around at night, right?
Very well lit.
It's, you know, right? Well
Manicured.
how about something as simple as well lit? Just a nice, well lit. Oh, what's another big one? What's another big thing in a neighborhood context?
Gate.
Having a gate, right? The gated communities. And in those gated communities, there's all these rules. There's these housing associations. Yeah, right? The housing association. But I'm thinking about something even, what's one of the first things you pick up on when you drive into the Dominion?
It's green.
You're getting there. Although, hey, look, when I drive in there, like somebody wants me to mow somebody's fucking lawn, okay? But other than that, what do you notice?
How nice it is.
Cleanliness, right? These are clean, manicured.
Everyone's house is taken care of.
Right?
No crappy houses.
What about crime? Crime in the Dominion.
You probably won't hear a gunshot go off.
Very
That's
low.
not true though.
Yeah.
A lot of times
Safe
burglars
place.
target those because that's where the.
Okay,
stuff
the question on the table is, do burglars target in
is.
high places like the Dominion? They probably would, right? I mean, I'm sure they'd love to, but they don't because what?
It's the
More
security.
often.
I mean, a lot of it, their security is, like, when you check in.
Sure, there's way too much
It
security.
seems like the news, local news reports, because I watch the news like OCD kind of like every day. Always, the reports of burglaries are always from north side. But they're like burglars on the north side.
We would have to, I would want to look at that data, but my sense is that most burglaries happen in working class neighborhoods, right?
Maybe you still report them.
Yeah, that's possible, all right? I'm not a criminal. My sense is, it's way too risky. Yeah, there's a lot more stuff to steal in the Dominion, but let me tell you, San Antonio Police Department gets a call from the Dominion or whatever police force that is, man, they're there in 3 seconds. Call the police in the hood. I mean, I'm not knocking cops, right? You know, I'm not getting into all that. That's not the point. The point of this, clearly empirical evidence has shown the response time is much faster in wealthy communities in the United States. And I'm not saying the police are doing it on purpose, that they're racist. You all can go fight your Black Lives Matter argument on your own, on some other time, right?
Well, a lot of times they put
That's a-
substations.
That's a separate
closer
argument.
to rich-
We're starting to see community policing starting to become more, but that's like we've been waiting a long. Look, in my neighborhood, good luck, right? Good luck. There's many reasons for that. And I think those reasons are starting to change. But the empirical evidence does seem to indicate police are faster to higher income communities, right? Just faster response time to higher income communities. The reasons for that are multifaceted and complex, and some people say it's just blatant racism. Fine. That's not the point of this discussion. The point of this discussion is to mention the importance of how neighborhood context, starting from this initial pathway, is going to also influence mental health outcomes. You can understand the types of experiences that people are going to have from the vantage point of mental health when neighborhoods are deteriorating, dirty, high levels of crime, right? We've talked in this class how clearly geospatial evidence shows low-income Americans are more likely to live near proximity to toxic waste, right? And we have got to think that that toxic waste is doing something physiologically to people when they live close to it. So all of these pathways that end up potentially in neighborhood contexts are also associated with negative mental health outcomes. So I would suggest to the students in the class, page 127, I think this would be important for you to understand this pathway that is being shown here. From individual level exposure to specific life events, traumas, crime. There's plenty of surveys we do here in the United States where we ask people about the level of noise in their neighborhood, the level of crime in their neighborhood. Just take something as simple as this, okay? And then we're going to let it go at this. The thing that ends up happening in terms of mental health is that oftentimes these effects, they compound one another, right? It's not just one magic bullet. So let's just say, I want you to do this for me. You guys should do this for me too. I want you to think about something like asthma, right? Think about a condition like asthma which affects children from high income neighborhoods and low income neighborhoods, okay? What might be a difference in the stressors that children feel when they have asthma in low income and high income communities? What might be some of the stressors that impact asthma differently for wealthy kids and low income kids?
The environment?
Well, yes, what kind of environmental things might impact asthma differently?
Aren't like low-income neighborhoods close to?
There it is.
Yeah, right?
There it is, right? So if you have asthma, it's bad enough. But if you live in a low-income neighborhood, which the data seems to indicate are often closer to toxic waste, to industrial waste, to smog, to pollution, right? Well, poor kids with asthma are going to be affected in a different way than wealthier kids, right? And their level of exposure to toxicity impacts their asthma differently than someone who lives in a different, more affluent neighborhood context, right? Sleep quality, right? How might people's sleep quality differ in higher income and lower income neighborhoods?
You live right next to the interstate, it's gonna be.
Right?
Especially if you've got your window open.
Right? Again, geographers love this kind of stuff. Train tracks in the United States, train tracks, regularly running trains, are either way out in the middle of nowhere, right, that they can only disturb bears, or like close to poor people, right? They don't know what to tell you, right? Regularly running train tracks are like either in the middle of nowhere or closer to like urban centers, right? You're not going to have somebody run a bunch of train tracks through the Dominion. It ain't going to happen, right?
Maybe a trolley.
There'd be a little trolley, real nice little quiet trolley that only runs from like 9 to 4, right? So the point is, what else might affect sleep quality?
Yeah.
Fear of crime.
The fear of crime, right? Just simply noise, right? Noise, fear of
Those
crime,
neighbors,
right?
You're probably living in an apartment.
Potentially living in more, right, tighter spaces, higher population densities. All these things, so can you imagine those kids? One with asthma in a wealthy community, one with asthma in a low-income community, and now you've got noise that affects their sleep quality. Sleep quality has been shown to affect asthma, right? And how it is that asthma plays itself out in your everyday life. So all of these contexts come into play, and then in turn, oh boy, and if you're suffering from asthma consistently, this context might then impact your mental health. Levels of depression, levels of anxiety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? So the point of this discussion, when you put all these chapters together, is to once again start off with the threat of education, educational inequalities, and thinking about a society, again, the unwell, the unequal society, where education is not equally distributed. Since education is not equally distributed in the United States, that is going to affect the odds of high or low job insecurity, which are then associated with neighborhood context. And here we go with the final loop. You ready for this? Final loop, final piece of the loop. The neighborhood context is poor. By that I don't mean like poor low income, I mean poor quality. Poor quality neighborhood context. As the chapter 4 says, how do we fund our schools in the United States? We've talked about this. The local tax base is predominantly how we fund our schools.
Which comes from real estate.
Which comes from the price of your homes, right? If you have expensive homes in your neighborhood, you get high taxes out of those homes, and you can fund schools much better. Because what we get from the state and from the feds is a small piece of the pie. So this is where we come full circle, okay? When we think about a poor quality neighborhood context with less value for the real estate, that gives us less of a tax base to fund our schools, which takes us right back where? Right back to the very beginning with an unequal educational system, right? So the process starts, and in a roundabout way, the process ends with education. Because groups of people experiencing subpar education end up with groups of people, high levels of job insecurity, congregated in poor quality neighborhoods, which cannot fund good schools, which are in turn, right, reinforced in those neighborhoods. As the book talks about, what happens in some other countries is the public policy implication of this is we don't let neighborhoods fund our schools. We let the federal government. We let the federal government equally
Same
fund
with
schools.
police.
What's that?
Same with police. They have
Absolutely.
central police force.
Absolutely, right? That the federal government takes a much bigger role. This is Bernie Sanders, my friends, right? So just when it seems like this is an abstract ideal, the guy came this close to being the Democratic nominee for president, which was this idea that the redistribution of wealth really implies that poor neighborhoods should not suffer educational quality because they're poor neighborhoods, right? If the federal government amasses all of its resources and equally subsidizes all the schools, then you get rid of this inequality at the beginning, okay? I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I disagree with it. That is hardly the point. I know you Trump backers in the room are like flipping out right now. It's okay. Get you some Trump, right? Get you some Trump. That's not the point. My point is not to tell you to pick sides. There's actually very good arguments made for the kind of redistribution we use in the United States. But I'm focusing on this book. And this book clearly comes from a more socialized model, where the authors of this and contributors to this book would clearly see a public policy that is much more redistributive, taking all of the society's resources and redistributing so that we can have a broader level of equality and egalitarianism in the educational system, which will then lead to less job insecurity, not so many poor quality neighborhoods, and back to the beginning, with more equal school systems. Okay?
Some communities try with the waiver system, I think you
That's-
mentioned, or. we
So we shut down the whole thing by saying, while these people clearly are not into waivers, look, that is an option that is on the table, that is talked about, and the one thing I will say about vouchers,
Or vouchers.
the voucher system, vouchers, where because there's not unequal schools, you as a parent get money from the government and you can put your kid any school you want, okay? Vouchers are most popular with who? You know? Low-income residents,
Well,
right?
Yeah,
Pe-
that's
people
what
in-
they're meant to help.
People in poor communities are supportive of the voucher system. So being tested all over the country, what the outcomes are gonna be, we're gonna see. Okay, we'll leave it at there. I think you have everything you need to get you guys rolling. Read carefully through the chapters. I gave you all the logistics of the week. So thank our graduate students once again for a good discussion. You guys keep up with everything. If you need anything, you know how to reach me. Thanks.